One of the things I love about reading Silver Age books is the letter columns. I like to see what fans were writing to the editors back then. If you think about it, those kids that wrote those letters, they grew up. They became our grandmas and grandpas. And I like to see what it is that they wanted to have happen in the superhero books they were reading. Like this one, for instance. Dear Editor, I'm tired of seeing Superman romancing only Lois and Lana. After all, he's a handsome bachelor and not engaged to either of them. Won't you ever show him falling for some other girl? Adele Harmon, Kent, Ohio. So I guess what Grandma Adele wanted was a skankier Superman. Go Grandma. Welcome to Haul Yeah Comics. My name is Nate, and I have issues. Today's issues are all DC Silver Age that I picked up between Half Price Books and one of my favorite shops to go digging at. So shout out to Jeff at Raven's Comic Books and Collectibles in Greenwood, Indiana. If you ever have a chance, you should go check that store out because it really is a great place to go picking. Before we get started here, please consider giving a like and a subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. It really does help out. And if you like haul videos, I mean, that's pretty much what we do around here. So let's get started and look at some books. First up is Action Comics number 386. This one goes with the covers I like to buy where the superheroes have been transformed or changed in some ways. I like it when it's funny, I like it when it's horrific, and in this one, Superman and some other characters have been, they've not been turned, they are old. They are staying at the old heroes' home. So Superman's there's a Durlin Green Lantern, there's a couple of other what might be older Legionnaires. I did read this issue and it wasn't great, but I'm really happy to have it because I think the cover's fantastic. And up next, I got a couple Jimmy Olsens. First, we've got Jimmy Olsen number 42. I think this may be the oldest Jimmy Olsen that I own. I don't know that I would consider this one part of the body transformation cover series, but Jimmy has been turned into a genie. And from Aladdin's lamp, of course. So he's been turned into a genie. This guy's controlling him and making him be living kryptonite and kill Superman. I was able to get this one pretty cheap because it does have some staining. And even with the staining and the condition, you buy the book, not the condition. And I'm really happy to have this book. But this next one definitely goes with my body transformation cover series. This is Jimmy Olsen number 49. What a title, The Fat Boy of Metropolis. This one has that trope too, where Jimmy and Superman are always kind of being mean to each other on the covers. There's a famous one where Jimmy is extracting Superman's tears, or one where Superman is keeping Jimmy in jail because he has to. Like, they're always sort of torturing each other, playing pranks back and forth. So this one, when I found out about, when I started researching books that had body transformations on them, this is one of the first ones that I had on my list. So when I saw this, and again, it was a really good price, and this is a 10 center. I believe this one's from 1960. So this was a really good get for me. The Fat Boy of Metropolis story is really funny and worth a read. Great book, glad to have it. And up next, this one, just the colors look so good on here. So I want to get a good look at Adventure Comics number 350. In this one, Supergirl and Superboy are kicked out of the Legion. They're not allowed to continue to be in the Legion for reasons. And, of course, by the end, things will work out just fine. I have two copies of this, and so I'm going to take a look at my other copy as well and see which one I think is in the better condition. And I'm gonna pass that one along to somebody who I think would really enjoy it. This one has a lower detached staple, but even with that, like, the presentation of this book is so good, and the story is so good, and the story is excellent. The story was a ton of fun. I love Legion stories from this period, so I'm not upset to have this detached cover or not. Up next is some Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. These are the earliest issues in the run that I own. This is number 19 and 20, and they kind of go together. So in issue 19, Clark and Lois are married, and Superman is doing his Superman stuff through a secret tunnel, and it leads to issues. In the second part of that story, this is issue number 20, they decide that they're going to adopt Supergirl, Superman's cousin. And Superman's cousin. There's just something about this cover, and Lois is jealous of Supergirl throughout the entire issue. I don't want to give anything away here, but this did not end the way I thought it would. It was crazy. So we're going to do a deeper dive of this particular story in a different video, because talking about it right now quickly, I don't feel like is going to do the insanity justice. Now, Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 29, I remember this cover being somewhat popular for a while. We have everybody lined up to make out with Lois Lane. I mean, Green Arrow's getting his turn, Aquaman and Batman. What is it he's saying? He's like, hurry up, Arrow, it's our turn to kiss Lois now. Okay. I mean, I don't know where Superman is. I assume he's raising money for this Fresh Air Fund charity that he's a part of, like back here, so, you know. And so while he's off doing charitable goods, Lois is doing charitable things as well. That's 3 10-cent Lois Lane books. I'm really glad to have these and to be able to add them into my collection. The next one I already had this book, and I got this one as a huge upgrade. I've already passed the other one along to someone who I know will enjoy it. I don't know if this is the first issue, because I don't know if this is number 1 or how this works, because it doesn't have a number on it, but this is Giant Lois Lane Annual. I think it's the first one. And this reprints older Lois Lane stories, and this has a couple in it that I am really excited to read, like the Bizarro Lois and the Mermaid Lois, because I like when people get transformed into weird things. This would reprint earlier issues. So I'm not 100% sure what all is in here, but the one that I had before was in pretty rough but readable condition, and this one, it has some spine rolling on it. This is a big square bound book, but overall this thing's in fantastic shape. So I was really excited to get an upgrade and to add one more book to my Lois Lane run collection. Next up, I've got a couple of Superman books that I picked up for $10 each at Half Price Books. I don't have great luck finding Silver Age books at half price, but the next 3 all came from there. I was impressed with the condition and the price of these. So the first one, this one does have a subscriber crease running down the middle, and this is The Girl Who Was Mightier Than Superman. I really like this cover. I like, it's kind of a jungle girl, kind of a jungle good girl type of vibe going on, but I really like the expression on Clark's face as he's being flipped over by this girl. And it says, "Great Krypton, I never dreamed it could happen. For the first time in my life, I've been beaten by a girl." I really like it. So I haven't read this one yet, but for $10, I wasn't going to leave that in the bin, and I'm excited to give it a read. The next one presents so well. I mean, it definitely has a couple of issues, but just the colors are so good. In this one, he's fighting the element enemies who I've never heard of before or since, which is too bad because it's really kind of a cool look. You've got fire, earth, water, and air, and they're all wrapping him up. But what I really like about this is just how rich the colors are on it. I don't know how this one was stored. It is not faded in the least. It looks so good. So again, $10. I was so happy to get this and be able to put it in my collection and eventually get to read it. So the last book I've got to show you today is World's Finest number 169, and this is a cover that I remember seeing a lot. It was one of those covers that just got shown off to kind of showcase Silver Age silliness with Superman and Batman being destitute, trying to change the Batmobile's broken down tire, and Supergirl and Batgirl conspiring against them, the Supergirl-Batgirl plot. This story is crazy. So it starts with Supergirl encountering this cloud hand thing, and it traps her and she can't get out. And then Batgirl shows up, and Batgirl just says something about, maybe this chemical from my belt will help, and she throws a random chemical at it, which doesn't help, then they're both trapped. And then Supergirl uses her heat vision, and she blasts the chemical, and the hand explodes, and they get free. So then after that, there's this moment where Batman and Superman are contributing items to a time capsule. And both Supergirl and Batgirl are like at their respective homes jealous, plotting against Superman and Batman, saying that they're getting too much credit, that Supergirl and Batgirl deserve more credit. Superman is dedicating a building, and the building starts to topple over. He wants to go save the building, but he has no powers. Supergirl's there to pick up his slack. Batman and Robin are encountering a villain on top of a building, and my favorite part about that is there's this hole that says atomic reactor, and it's just open. There's just like an open atomic reactor at the top of this building, and the villain kidnaps Robin and threatens to throw him down this atomic hole, and Batman literally gets on his knees and begs for Robin's life. The guy throws Robin down the hole anyway, while Batman's being a coward, and Batgirl is there to save the day. Both Supergirl and Batgirl have these little thought bubble moments where they are, they're talking about how it's just begun. And you're left to wonder, like, why are they plotting against Superman and Batman? Like, what happened? Obviously, it's something to do with that hand they encountered, right? The story continues. Supergirl steals the Fortress of Solitude. Batman and Robin return to the Batcave, and everything's gone. The whole place has been looted. It's clean. Right before this happens, they walk in and find, nothing left but the nails in the wall. And Batman says, well, Batgirl doesn't even know where the Batcave is. And then they walk in and it's cleaned out. It's kind of a funny moment. So Superman has no powers. Batman has no gadgets. Batman and Robin, they go ahead and they're finishing up a case somewhere. They're beating up some random criminals. They go to put them in the jet, and Batman kind of like turns around and Robin's gone. He's just gone. He can't find him. And the clue left behind is a Batgirl compact, for makeup, because that's what Batgirl would leave behind. And he says, she's leaving this here to taunt me. Now Batman has no Robin. He's driving the Batmobile, which is a janky Batmobile. He's driving down the road and he encounters Superman hitchhiking. Superman has lost his Clark Kent clothes. Those were stolen from him. He's all haggard. He's got a beard. These two are like at their lowest point right now. And Batman decides he's going to change back into Bruce Wayne. And when he takes off his cowl, he doesn't look like Bruce Wayne anymore. So now both of them... Why? This didn't make any sense. So Bruce Wayne doesn't look like Bruce Wayne anymore underneath the Batman cowl. Superman is a haggard mess. The Batmobile blows a tire, which is supposed to be bulletproof. They pull over to the side of the road. You get this scene kind of, from the cover. You get this scene in the book, and they're trying to figure out what is going on. And then Supergirl and Batgirl show up to taunt them. Supergirl tells Superman that he has his powers back, and he does. And they go to space, and they're having a space fight, and there's kryptonite rocks. Superman ends up winning, and after the fight, he looks at Supergirl and realizes it's not Supergirl. She's wearing a mask, and he pulls the mask off, and it's the Black Flame, a supervillain from the tiny bottle city of Kandor. Okay, I saw that coming. Then Batman and Batgirl have a fight on the streets where Batgirl blows a whistle, which causes a sign to fall down on Batman, but he ends up besting her. And when he does, he sees that she's also wearing a mask, and he pulls her mask off, and it's not Batgirl at all, it's Catwoman. Okay, that doesn't make any sense either. Long story short, they find Supergirl and Batgirl tied up in a cave, and then Supergirl and Batgirl show up a third time. So we've got 3 different Batgirl-Supergirl pairings. We've got the Black Flame Catwoman pairing, we've got these two who are tied up, and then we've got these two who fly in. What is happening? Well, the story is that the hand took them away to a different dimension. And all of this was orchestrated by Batmite and Mr. Mxyzptlk having themselves a impish game of who has the better adversary. Is Batman better? Is Superman better? It doesn't make a lick of sense. Batmite seems to be helpful, whereas Mr. Mxyzptlk is definitely not. He's more of the trickster, and that Batmite says he was there the whole time just to keep everything in line. So Batmite tricks Mr. Mxyzptlk into saying his name backwards, and in literally the very last panel, as he's poofing away back to his home dimension, he says, "Don't worry, everything's back to the way it was. Robin's back. The fortress is back." I had forgot Robin disappeared, right? Robin just disappeared. We didn't know where he was. That was this story. This story was great. There was a backup story that I'm not going to go into that was more like a Tales from the Crypt, kind of like an anthology horror type sci-fi little story that I loved. The big dice, the big cube, something. I'll throw a picture of it up. So this was a confusing read. Like, even when I got to the end, it didn't make much sense. And when I went back through flipping and taking pictures, I still felt like I can't really do justice explaining this story because it doesn't make sense. It's a lot of nonsense. It's a great cover. I think I might read it a third time. You know, this one's going in the collection. I'm really happy to have it. It looks really good. But man, sometimes these Silver Age stories, they don't just go places you don't think they'll go. You don't know where you ended up either. So that was today's Silver Age haul. I hope you enjoyed it. I really love these books and I love sharing them with you. If there's anything that you know about these books, please leave me a comment and let me know any information that you have to share, because I love learning about these books. I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. And that is the Fat Boy of Metropolis. So, last one. Issue no...